All right, ladies and gentlemen. Our first speaker tonight is Don Ciosek. And I ask this at every meeting, did I get that right?
Got it darn close, you did. I've left testimony in the box.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, first of all, my name is Don Ciosek. I'm a resident of Greenwood County, a constituent of Congressional District 3, Senate District 10, and House District 14. I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. I don't know if you were too slow and keep putting your hand down or you volunteered for this, but it's a lot of work driving around the state and doing these hearings, so I want to thank you for that. I don't think you get very many thank yous. Well, in my view, and I think probably shared by most people, the essence of a political contest should be a contest of ideas and principles, rather than a pure political struggle or personality struggle. And in my view, the greatest cause in doing this redistricting, and it's in your guidelines, is finding a community of interest. Now, that's a very broad subject, and I dare say that if we asked everyone here what community of interest means, we'd get that many more definitions. But community of interest is extremely important, I think, and it's in your guidelines. It was spelled out a little more definitely, I think, in the Senate guidelines, state Senate guidelines. But needless to say, the task is a difficult one because people don't like change. If you're an incumbent and you've been elected a couple of times, I suspect you're not too keen on seeing redistricting. But the fact is that the population has grown, and I'm sure it's grown in certain areas and not in others, and it does require that change be made. And I'm also aware that this ends up in a whack-a-mole situation where obviously you move a census block here or move, a precinct there, and then something else has to happen and a domino effect takes place. However, since the last census and redistricting, computing hardware and software has grown exponentially. And we ought to have, if we don't have, substantial power in computing to take into consideration a variety of aspects of community of interest. I would dare say with the computing power and artificial intelligence, we ought to be able to input 15 or 20 variables and give them weight and create these districts and then move toward altering them. Now, I may be saying something you already know, and you probably have one of these pieces of software, if not more. I've seen several online. More specifically, the reason I'm speaking tonight is I noticed a few years ago in looking at districts that our district, House District 14, is rather unique. There are approximately 30 precincts in House District 14, 7 of which are on this side of Lake Greenwood. And I would maintain that there is little community of interest between those 7 precincts and the remainder of the 23 precincts in House District 14. Now, I'm really not complaining as much as I am pointing to it as an example of why the redistricting should take place and the whole issue of community of interest. I would maintain there is substantial difference in the historical, the political, the cultural, and the economic differences between the 7 precincts that are here in Greenwood County and the remainder that's in Lawrence County. Really, there's only access from Greenwood to Lawrence County in a couple of roads. It's not as if it's in the center of the state. where there is no divide like Lake Greenwood, and you have people going hither and yon. I speak to people who rarely go to Lawrence County. I mean, if you ask them where they're looking for a job, they're not looking for a job in Lawrence County. And people probably residing in Lawrence County are looking for jobs in Lawrence County, not necessarily in Greenwood County. I live out on the lake, and I get people to say to me, you drive all the way into the center of Greenwood, to do your business. And so a lot of people don't like traveling. Let me just point out a couple of differences or aspects of this divide. Obviously, there are different county governance. There are different registrars of voters. There are different school districts. There's a different library system. There's different law enforcement in each of these counties, different EMS, different utility structures, water treatment. Greenwood County relies on Lake Greenwood. Lawrence actually has more sources, although they're lacking, so a deal has been put together for Lawrence to draw from Lake Greenwood, which is owned by the county. There are really different types of zoning enforcement in each of the counties. Highways are different. Lawrence County has 2 interstate highways bisecting it. Greenwood does not. There are different economics in terms of where people work. So just in due respect to the committee and the legislature, I think a top-to-bottom look has to be taken at the entire structure. And I realize there are legal constraints, certainly at the congressional level, and your job is going to be a tough one, but I think House District 14 is an example of why a look-see has to take place with regard to specifically House districts and Senate districts. I mean, I think it would be great if we could have, more House districts fit into a county and fit into a Senate district, so that when House members or Senate members are attempting to represent constituents, they aren't in 4 or 5 different counties. I know there's a Senate district that has state Senate district that's in 6 different counties. I would think that's extremely difficult to represent. And anyway, those are my remarks, and I hear a buzzer, so I've probably gone over time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ciosek.